Hello and welcome to Cyberside Chats. Thank you for tuning in live this month. My name is Sherry Davidoff.
And I'm Matt Duran.
And today our topic is SEO poisoning. So hackers are actually using a different method to phish you. They're not just relying on emails anymore. I suspect in part it's because we've gotten better maybe at blocking phishing emails.
I think that has a lot to do with it, actually. If these things aren't going through an email system, which is going to catch a lot of those phishing emails, if they can just get you through the browser, then, I mean, it's going to be a lot better for them.
And a lot of times also people are searching from their personal devices. So maybe you want to log into your payroll, you're going to use your personal device, and so your company can't really protect you in that case.
Right.
So let's dig in. Do you want to tell us about the latest news, Matt?
Yeah. So I think the first thing we want to talk about is do you want to do Blackpoint? Or you want to talk about,
that was some research results that just came up at the end of last month. So end of September.
Yeah.
Blackpoint SOC detected the Oyster malware that was being installed through SEO poisoning.
Right.
And this seems to be rampant.
It seemed to be pretty intense. The Oyster malware is it's a backdoor remote access Trojan. It's built for credential theft, it's built for file theft, and a bunch of other kind of nasty things like that. But the interesting way was how it was actually being delivered, and it kind of came in two different waves. The first one was through a Microsoft Teams installer.
Yes.
And I thought that was really funny because being a Windows user and a Microsoft user, when I think I'm going to go download Teams, I go to Microsoft's website and I get it. But the more we looked into it, the more we saw that people who are primarily Google or G Suite users or Google Workspace users, if they get a Teams invite or something like that, I mean, the most obvious thing for them to do is just pop up into the browser and put download Teams.
Microsoft Teams.
And with the way the attackers were doing it was they were setting up a fake link to something that looked like a Microsoft domain, except it was a .top instead of a .com domain. And this would lead them to an installer that looked like Microsoft Teams. It would download, it would install, and now they've got this backdoor in their computer system. So yeah, and again, these are people that are not regular Microsoft users, so it wouldn't be readily apparent that they weren't getting the actual version of the program they thought they were.
Yeah, pretty tricky. So that targets a general audience. We've also seen similar cases where developers and IT admins are targeted. So we see tools like Putty and what was it, WinSCP?
WinSCP, yeah.
Being advertised on Google. In some cases there's open source tools, so it wouldn't be weird to be searching for them, downloading them. All the more reason why you have to really emphasize to users and IT admins alike that you want to be careful where you download applications from.
Right.
And you really want to do application whitelisting, I think, and limit it at least on the corporate desktop.
Well, and I mean, when you look at how these things executed, you could tell that they were specifically targeting Windows users only. Like, there wasn't a Linux variant of this, there wasn't a Mac variant of this.
Poor thing. It must be hard to be targeted.
Yeah, well, it's tough being the top dog, right?
So another aspect of this, a related case was the payroll pirates. I think this is fascinating, honestly.
These guys were really interesting because their attack expanded like exponentially, which was
Well, they clearly made a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, they did.
So this was Storm 2657, and they ran malicious search ads. And the way they did this was, first of all, they were targeting employees. One of the things they did was create fake employee benefits sites. So we were talking about this really at the beginning of 2025, and it certainly continued throughout the year. So they'll create a fake employee benefits site, and you might think, well, that's not a big deal. Why would employees go there? Again, the answer is if you're trying to go to your benefit site, it's a third-party platform, let's say it's Workday or ADP or whatever, people are Googling ADP or Workday login or something like that. They might be going from their personal devices. And then they'll brand it with the company's logo. So what researchers found was they were targeting companies like Macy's and other big organizations. And I know you were saying that they actually compromise an account on those within those organizations.
Yeah, so they expanded from their original kind of heist. They weren't just trying to steal credentials, and then a big part of this was payroll redirect. So that was the big thing. But what they would also do, depending on the level of account that they ended up with, based on this phish, was they would utilize, if they got like an admin account or something like that, they would utilize that admin account in the HR system to then spam actual HR emails out to people who were users of the system and phish them as well.
Right.
And I think there was something like 6,000 different members of a specific university that were phished, and
there's New York Life, Kaiser Permanente. So there were a lot of people, and they were adding mailbox rules and changing MFA settings. So
Yeah.
they were
got hit pretty
able
bad.
to, yeah, exactly.
Well, and then you pile that on top of credential reuse, and this means that, I mean, they've probably got credentials for a bunch of other things at that point. So, yeah, I mean, not a great situation.
So that's payroll pirates. The other one I thought was fascinating was technical help pages.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that
well,
one?
yeah, so that's a scam that's actually been around for a really long time.
I know, but it got better.
But it got
By better,
yeah.
I mean worse.
Yeah.
Worse.
So this used to be like you'd go to a website and you'd get a pop-up that said like your computer has a virus or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they'd give you a number to call and all of that. Well,
and you call them and you give them your password and they help you.
Yeah, and they syskey your system.
It's like the
and
modern version of that.
It is, because in this case, it's not them putting a pop-up that says that you have a virus or something. It's people actively looking for either technical support software, antivirus software, or something else like that. And because they are paying for those search results, those automatically go to the top of the list.
Yes.
And if it's somebody who's trying to Google for tech support software, I mean, again, we can assume these are less technical users than someone who has worked in IT for 25 years or something like that.
But they were also using these sites against the people Googling them.
Yep.
So this included Microsoft, Netflix,
Yep.
Bank of America, these big trusted brands. And when the search result popped up, it would go to the real website. But there was a search parameter in there, and the search parameter would include it would basically reflect the malicious phone number. So or the scammer's phone number. So when you went to the site, you'd be like, tech support, there's a number in front of me, and then they would call it, and that would go to the scammer. But it was really the real website.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really similar
So
to
evil.
it's really similar to like those the Microsoft like man in the middle phishing pages we see.
Yes.
Like, yes, it is the actual website, but something's different about it.
Yes.
And it's not readily apparent what that is.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So one of the things I was thinking is like AI has come out. It's now been integrated with search.
Yep.
And so we don't rely on search results as much. People are clicking less. That is, as a business owner, that's been told to me over and over and over again. People are not clicking as much. So I was like, well, maybe this bodes well for SEO poisoning. But in fact, it doesn't.
No.
Because the paid, you say it.
Because the paid systems or paid services are going to get picked up by the AI, and when you go to Google and Gemini brings up the results for whatever you just searched for, there's a good chance that if one of those is a malicious sponsored result, it's going to end up in one of the links that you get inside of Gemini.
Yeah, and you also see search results too, paid
search
results. And there's less clutter, there's fewer search results, but that means that the malicious paid advertisements are more likely to bubble up to the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sure that Google and other search providers are actively working to screen out malicious links from their AI search results, but we're still seeing them in the ads.
Well,
sure.
and I mean, this is just like anything else with cybersecurity. There's going to be that swing of the pendulum, where they're going to figure out how to stop it. Attackers are going to figure out a way to do it again, and it's just going to kind of go back and forth indefinitely. That's kind of how things work at this point. So it's why we just need to be careful about, I don't ever click on sponsored results anyway, but it's usually because they're annoying.
Yes.
But we just need to be, again, really careful about what we're clicking on and where we're going with these specific searches.
Well, I think that's a trend. I just saw a statistic, 60% of Google searches today end in no clicks.
Yeah.
So we're definitely trending that direction. Like by this time next year, maybe nobody will click on anything and we won't have to worry about security anymore.
Right.
Yay.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Nah.
All right. What's next? Should we talk about how we fix this?
Yeah, let's talk about defending against these things.
Okay, number one, of course, training. It's really important. Make sure your user training includes things like go directly to the portal. If you need to install Teams, for example, make sure they're going directly to Microsoft's website. They're not looking at search. And in fact, you might want to just include the information from this podcast about malicious search results in your next employee training, because it is, what is it, 20% of phishing attacks are starting with search results now?
Yeah, I mean, phishing emails are actually one of the lower delivery methods for phishing links at this point. Instead, it is shopping websites, it is search results. Search results are the number one at about 20%. It's forum posts, it's technical help forums, it's pretty much everything except phishing emails where these links are coming
We're
through.
all trained to hate email at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
But and you probably trust other things more, even text messages. Although I'm starting to distrust my text messages too.
Oh, I don't trust text messages at all.
Especially links in them.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the usual phishing stuff, teach your staff to verify URLs, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Technical controls, though. Do you want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, technical controls, and this is more for enterprise users than it would be for personal users. But if you can have something like web filtering enabled, or something that will block access to either risky or newly founded domains or something like that, because again, that's where a lot of these things end up. It'll look like the legitimate service you're looking for as a header on Google or something like that, but underneath there's a phishing website that's been set up, and I mean those are short-lived anyway. These are no different. I mean there's a very limited lifespan to how long these websites are even available, and so looking at the lifespan, the reputation, the certificate behind the website, like all of those things, if you can filter them out ahead of time, will just keep your users from even getting to that website in the first place.
So we can do that with web proxies. What can we do for like BYOD? Are there mobile device management solutions that include ways to filter out malicious ads?
There are some, yeah. And I mean, if we're using something like Intune as an example, Intune has security features that can be enabled to help mitigate these kind of things. That's only if you're using like a true, managed BYOD solution. If you're just allowing people to access email through a web portal on their regular phones and none of that's in place, there's not a lot you can do to help them at that point. So,
yeah, absolutely. And then tabletop exercises are pretty critical as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I think responding to SEO poisoning is important because your team may have a lot of experience responding to phishing emails. I often see that when we edit incident response policies and procedures, we often see phishing emails as their own incident type. Mm-hmm. And it's really time to broaden that into like more of a phishing communication or a phishing attack. SEO results are challenging though because it's really like it's more of a push, like the user reaching out, as opposed to the criminals.
As opposed to the criminals initiating that contact.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
The old watering hole attacks.
No.
Going to places that people visit and waiting for them to come by, and then boom, drive-by download.
Yep.
So really, that's where all this came from.
Totally.
Shall we jump into our takeaways? And we're also going to take some questions today, too, since we're live.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and hit the takeaways here.
All right. Well, number one, filter risky ads and domains. Yeah. Use DNS, use browser policies, web proxies to suppress sponsored results for critical tools.
Or use something that blocks sponsored results as a whole, like an ad blocker.
You're going to kill advertising. Your turn.
All right. The next thing is to control software sourcing. So in a lot of cases, if you download a legitimate application from a legitimate software vendor, they will include things like, and I know people barely ever look at this, but they'll include things like a SHA-256 hash to go along with the installer that you just downloaded.
Right.
To verify that like what you got is actually the real program. But I mean, that could also be faked if you're on a fake website. Again, what we really need to look at is where that software is coming from. And so if you have control over application deployment inside of your environment, like if you are running a Mac environment, as an example. You can set up self-service, and then you can control exactly which applications the user can download, control the version, and control that they're actually installing a legitimate version of that program.
Application whitelisting is key.
Yeah, it is. And then internal installers only, that's another one. I mean, if you let people install from anything they download from the internet, you're asking for trouble. So in a lot of bigger enterprise environments, if there are installers that are used to put critical applications on machines inside the system, they're hosted inside that system as well. And again, that just gives your IT staff the ability to control what is being run on those computers.
I was testifying in a ransomware case earlier this year where an analysis of the IT admin's history and computer activity indicated that the IT folks were downloading tools from all kinds of random places.
I remember that.
Even though it was against the organization's policy.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that this also needs to apply to IT staff. And it's natural for IT to need to experiment and try out new tools, in which case that's what you have a development environment for.
Yeah, that's why we have sandboxes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really important to not use your real corporate password in the sandbox or things like that, because I think that's honestly where a lot of organizations get in trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it reminds me a lot of some of the older ransomware cases that we've worked, where we would go in and we would look at the program execution history on like one of the primary servers or the domain controller or something like that. And by looking at it, you could see the exact moment that the IT admin realized what had just happened, popped open a web browser and started randomly Googling. Yeah.
Oh, randomly Googling.
Randomly Googling for things like free decryptors and things like that. And
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, it's funny to think about now, but it was pretty bad then.
Yeah, and often they wipe the temp folder or the search history.
Oh yeah.
Again, because we are living in a world where BYOD is so common, very different than the pre-COVID days, it's training is more important than ever. So make sure you are training your users, because a lot of these attacks are really, if someone goes in and gets into half of your employees' payroll systems and diverts all their payroll, that is a problem for the company.
Yeah.
Even if it happens to one employee or two employees, that goodwill with your employees is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, you may not have direct control over your employees' phones and tablets and other devices that they log in from. So make sure they have training and that they understand that their personal device security is also a risk for the company and vice versa.
Yeah, no, I just did a webinar earlier today, and we were talking in the Q&A section of the webinar. We were talking about how people can be prepared to identify what's a phishing link and what's not if it's not coming through email. And the idea behind it is basically that you need to remember attackers will try any trick they can to get you to click a link.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's coming through email, if it's a banner ad on the side of a website, or if it's coming through your search results. The basic tenets of it all remain the same. If you're trying to get to a service from Microsoft, then you should make sure that the website you go to is Microsoft. Yeah. I mean, it's that simple, really.
One tip is to check the bookmarks within your company. Check people's bookmarks in their browsers, and you can look for high-risk habits and see, where are they going, or just the search history. See what kinds of things they're searching for. And if users are searching for applications, that might be a red flag that you need to engage them in some additional training.
Yeah, agreed. All right, next thing, and this will be our technical finding here, but you need to monitor for those persistence mechanisms. And the way that these, either the Oyster backdoor or anything else really, was making its way into systems and staying there is the same way that we see any other remote access Trojan do it. They're using scheduled tasks. They're programming themselves into DLLs for execution. I mean, these are the basic tenets that we see in most persistence mechanisms and have for years. The nice part about that for a defender is that, especially if you're monitoring your Windows event logs, there are specific event IDs that trigger when something like a scheduled task is created or a DLL is modified. And so if you are piping your Windows event logs off to a SIM, you can alert on that. And then you know early on that someone has an infection on their computer and they need to be pulled off the network and that computer needs to be sanitized. So, yeah.
Good advice. I'm going to wrap us up by talking about tabletop exercises. Make sure you are including SEO poisoning in your tabletop exercises.
Yes.
I think often this is overlooked, and it's actually really easy to do because you can sneak it in as a component to another scenario. So for example, if you're running a ransomware scenario, often you'll try to trace it back to a phishing email. Hey, there is no phishing email. Well, maybe that's because it was in a poisoned SEO result. Or it's a business email compromise. How did they get the person's password? It wasn't a phishing email. It was a poisoned SEO result.
Yeah.
So I think, again, training your team to think outside the phishing box is really important, and practicing your response to that. Speaking of scenarios, one scenario that happens a lot in real life, but I don't often see practiced in tabletops, is payroll redirect.
Yeah. And so we've had that be a component of some of the tabletops that we've done before, but I mean, realistically, that's it's difficult to create an entire scenario around something like payroll redirect unless you have that be the final cue at the end and there's a larger compromise behind it. So
you can do a micro tabletop.
You could, but I'd say that'd be a good 2-hour tabletop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Cyberside Chats. We're going to stick around and take some questions live. So yeah, and tune in next week for those of you that are on demand. All right, live questions.
All right, let's see. Question 1, how do we respond to search or ad-based attacks? That's a good question. If you do happen to see one on, say, Google or something like that, you can actually report the results on a Google search. And ideally, that will mean that search result gets pulled down and people don't continue to get it as they search for something similar. Yeah.
And again, practice your response to that internally, because if you do figure out that there was an ad-based attack, make sure that you're blocking that going forward.
Right, yeah.
You're training people about that, especially if you're being targeted, as was the case with payroll pirates.
Yeah,
people
exactly.
need to be alerted.
Second question we have is, how do we know if someone installed a fake app? Yeah, so there's a couple different things you can do to look at that. God, this is putting me back into my sysadmin days.
Multiple layers, yeah. I know. You have to hit your response buttons.
I know.
Obviously, hopefully it'll pop up with endpoint detection or antivirus. But let's say that doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're... So there used to be a scourge of applications on websites like SourceForge, as an example.
Yes.
Which, I mean, you could go and you could get an application that looked and worked like putty or something like that. but it was a backdoored version of PuTTY. And so the way that we know if they installed a legitimate application is basically to prevent those sites from being used in the first place. And if you can't, then alerting on something like a hash mismatch or an update mismatch or something like that. I mean, there are technical controls in place, but it becomes kind of difficult at that point. So really, I mean, educating people on not installing those things in the first place is a much better bet.
Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see. We had a question, will ad blockers or privacy filters stop this? I mean, ad blockers will block all ads, but only in the systems that are under your control.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not going to stop ads for other people's phones or computers.
Yeah.
But you could encourage others to install privacy or to install ad blockers as well.
Well, and there's 1,001 different ad blockers out there. So I mean, if you're going to rely on one and you want your employees or your cohorts to rely on it too, just make sure that they know which one is the good one at that point. Like, is it going to be uBlock? Is it going to be AdBlock Plus? Is it going to be Ad Blocker? Right. I mean, if you look in the Chrome store and put in AdBlock, there are thousands of results that come up, and some are good, and some are bad, and some are Trojans. So it's just worth being careful about. But yes, they can help.
I never see that covered in employee trainings. I have to say, I think this is actually a really good question because it should really be integrated into employee trainings. Again, now that our personal and work environments are so interconnected.
True. All right.
Anything else?
Give people a second here just to make sure we don't have any other questions coming in, but I think that was it.
You can also drop us a line on LinkedIn if you have any questions after the fact. This was a fun topic.
This was. I like this.
Something that's very widely applicable and not super technical, but definitely results in a lot of money being lost.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks again for tuning in this week. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week on CyberSite Chats.
Thanks, everyone.